Good morning, good morning. The time for convening has arrived. The Senate will come to order. All unauthorized visitors, please exit the chamber at this time. The chair recognizes the distinguished gentleman from Noonan, Georgia, the chairman of the Rules Committee. Senator?
Thank you, Mr. President, and welcome back. I hope everyone enjoyed the beautiful snow that hit South Georgia and West Georgia and other areas. We had a good time getting out with the kids, sledding around. Mr. President, we have finally got a good list of pages today that I'm very excited to announce. Out of Alpharetta, we have Nesta Chimakurtha. Out of Cumming, we have Benjamin Chupa Stallings. Out of Atlanta, we have Joanna Hahn. Out of Johns Creek, Luke Havard. Out of Cumming, we have Muhammad Lakhani. Out of Cumming, we have McKay Nelson. Out of Lawrenceville, we have Ure Njoku Obi. Out of Decatur, we have Kalea Reese. Out of Marietta, we have Jake Snyder. Out of Marietta, we have Isaac Washington. And out of Milledgeville, we have Blair Weaver. So y'all give our pages a big round of applause. We appreciate y'all being here. Look forward to working with y'all today to handle the business of this great state. Mr. President, this journal has been read and found to be correct.
All right, Senator. I greatly appreciate that, and we appreciate all our young pages for being here today. So I'm glad to have each and every one of you. Is there objection to dispensing of the reading of the journal? Chair hears none. The reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there objection to the confirmation of the journal? Chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. All senators who have bills and resolutions to introduce, please bring them to the Secretary's desk. First reading and references to Senate bills and resolutions.
Senate Bill 21 by Senator Tillery, the 19th, and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 80 of Title 36 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions applicable to counties.
Public safety.
Senate Bill 22 by Senator Tillery of the 19th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 2 of Title 20 of
Education and Youth.
Senate Bill 23 by Senator Albers of the 56th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 7 of Chapter 20 of Title 47 of the
Retirement.
Senate Bill 24 by Senators Burns of the 23rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 5 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions relative to ad valorem taxation.
Finance.
Senate Bill 25 by Senator McLaurin of the 14th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 9
Public safety.
Senate Bill 26 by Senator Rett of the 33rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 7 of Title 48 Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the imposition, rate, computation, exemptions. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Secretary will read report of standing committees.
Mr. President, the Senate Committee on State and Local Governmental Operations has under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report back the same to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 16 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Clint Dixon of the 45th District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
It is now time for the morning roll call. Are there any motions to excuse? Recognize the senator from the 15th.
Chairman, Mr. President, I move that we excuse the senator from the 12th for business inside the Capitol. Thank you.
I just saw the senator from the 12th, but without objection, they are a senator from the 12th is excused. Any other motions? Recognize the senator from the 33rd.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, y'all. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 5th, 26th, and 28th for business outside the Capitol.
Without objection, the senator from the 5th, the 26th, and the 28th are excused. Any other motions to excuse? Secretary will call the roll. Senator, signify your presence by voting the yea switch. Secretary will unlock the machine. It is now time for our morning devotion. All senators, please take your seats and cease all audible conversation. I would ask the doorkeepers secure the chamber at this time. I'd like to recognize the senator from the 41st to lead us in our pledge and introduce our chaplain of the day. Senator?
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now our pledge to the Georgia flag. I pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag and the principles for which it stands, wisdom, justice, moderation, and courage. Thank you. Well, good morning, colleagues. I rise today to introduce to you the Reverend Kathy Brockman, who is an associate pastor at Dunwoody United Methodist Church in my great district, District 41. Not only is Kathy a constituent of mine and serves a large congregation in my district, but we also happen to have gone to the same seminary. She is a proud alum of Candler School of Theology at Emory University, and so I'm always happy and glad when I can bring folks from Candler to join us here. Kathy, while not a native Texan, not a native Georgian, she's actually from Texas, has made home here in Georgia for a long time, where she and her husband, Bard, who is here with us today, raised two sons. Before becoming a pastor, Kathy served in the financial institution industry and helped make some really good, important work there before she realized that God had called her to a much higher purpose. She served 3 small churches during the course of her career, one of them being in Comer, Georgia, so she's been out to East Georgia, and also served at Oak Grove United Methodist Church, dear friends of ours that serve there as well. She is the pastor for Congregational Care, Older Adult Ministries, and Women's Ministries at Dunwoody United Methodist Church. And it's my great honor and privilege to introduce you to the Reverend Kathy Brockman.
Thank you, Senator Jackson and Lieutenant Governor. Good morning. Rainy days and Mondays, right? Well, it is an honor and a privilege for me to be here this morning with you. I also bring greetings from one of your former colleagues, former Senator Fran Miller. Sends his best. Fran and Mary and their daughters and their families are longtime members at Dunwoody United Methodist Church. Well, as a pastor, I have had the privilege of providing congregational care or pastoral care to the families within our church as well as others in the Dunwoody community. For those of you who may not be familiar with that term, when I say pastoral care, it is walking with people in both the difficult and the joyous times in their lives. Whether it be the death of a family member, the challenge of addiction or mental illness, an unexpected and unwanted medical diagnosis, or the beauty of a wedding, the birth of a new baby, or the declaration of complete remission. Caring for people is one of the holy privileges of being a pastor. I wanted to share with you this morning two things I have observed, I have learned, and I can testify to about people. Neither of which will be a surprise to you, I'm sure, but something to be reminded of on a rainy Monday morning. The first being that everybody has a story. Now, I know you know that because each one of you has a story that you know so well. Some of it I'm sure you're proud of, and some of it maybe not so much, right? Every person has a story. I've learned that too many times. We don't learn the true extent of that story until we celebrate the life of the person at a funeral or a memorial service. And isn't that too bad? More often than not, I regret that I didn't know the extent of that story. For example, the man who served in the Army during Vietnam and earned both the Purple Heart and the Silver Star. He was a leader who ran toward enemy fire rather than away from it to protect the soldiers under his command. Then there's the amazing woman who is known as the Mother of Dunwoody. She was a community activist, a dedicated volunteer, and the driving force behind Dunwoody's incorporation. She was also a dedicated volunteer in many areas of DeKalb County. Everyone has a story. But unfortunately, we don't take the time to listen to that story, or even a small portion of that story, before we assume we know what's best for that person or that group of people. As representatives, as senators, as leaders of the people of Georgia and your districts, it's my prayer that you will take the time to listen, to truly listen to the stories of the people, all people, including the ones who don't look like you, or think like you, or vote like you. The second thing I've observed, I've learned, I can testify to, is that we can't do this life alone. In my ministry, I have seen people who are so private that they won't let anyone in to share the good times, much less the more difficult ones. And they suffer. They suffer needlessly. They carry a load that could be shared with others. Many of you have heard the saying, God won't give you anything you can't handle, haven't you? Well, that's not completely true, my friends. I prefer whatever happens in life, God never meant for you to handle it alone. God meant for us to be in community and relationship with God as well as with other people. I know that the work you do here is incredibly important, and I suspect that there are times, perhaps many times, when it's very difficult. I suppose that there are even times when other people, maybe even your fellow legislators, have disappointed you or have let you down. So I pray for each one of you that you have a person, at least one person in your life that you trust, who will listen, who will walk with you during both the good times as well as those more difficult ones, and who will not try to fix things for you. That may be a spouse, a parent, another family member, a friend, the clergy at your place of worship, or even a therapist. Everybody needs a person because we aren't meant to go through life alone. I believe that God works through other people. And whether you have your own relationship with God or you don't, God will find a way to work through others for your good. I worship, and hopefully many of you do too, a God who is loving and wants the best for each of us. Whatever happens in life, God never meant for us to handle it alone. So everybody has a story. And God never means for us to handle anything alone. I hope you will take those two truths with you today, that you will ponder them, and that you will thank God for them. And now I'd like to close with a beautiful psalm, Psalm 8, a psalm of David. O Lord, our sovereign, how majestic is your name in all the earth. You have set your glory above the heavens. Out of the mouths of babes and infants, you have founded a bulwark because of your foes, to silence the enemy and the avenger. When I look at your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars that you have established, what are human beings that you are mindful of them? Mortals, that you care for them. Yet you have made them a little lower than God and crowned them with glory and honor. You have given them dominion over the works of your hands. You have put all things under their feet, all sheep and oxen, and also the beasts of the field, the birds of the air, and the fish of the sea, whatever passes along the paths of the seas. O Lord, our sovereign, how majestic is your name in all the earth. Let us pray. Gracious, loving, and merciful God, we thank you today for the land in which we live. We thank you for the freedoms which are ours, for the multitude of opportunities presented to each of us, for a land of abundance. God, I thank you for this body of your people who are willing to give of their time and their talents to care for this great state of Georgia and those of us who call it home. As they go about their work today, guide their hearts, their minds, their words, and their actions, that the work and all they do will be pleasing to you. God, we pray for blessings on this great state. We pray for those who still suffer the effects of Hurricane Helene and the recent snow and ice storms. May they know your peace, O God, and especially may they know your presence. Loving God, we know each person has their own unique story, so may we all be mindful of that in the coming days, and may we all continue to remember that each and every one of us is your beloved child. We are grateful, O God, that you don't leave us to go through life alone. We're grateful that you send others into our lives to walk with us, to listen to us, and show us your love and your mercy. I pray, O God, that you will use each of us to be that person for another, looking to you for guidance and strength. We pray all these things in the mighty and glorious name of God. Amen.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That was great.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Appreciate it. Mhm. We obviously have a lot of guests in the hallways and in the chamber as well, but we always like to introduce and recognize our doctors of the day. And to do that for us today, I recognize the senator from the 37th to introduce our doctor of the day.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, proud to bring before you today Dr. Debbie Dalton. She's a physician from my district up in West Cobb County. This is a person, when you think about expertise and service, I think about Debbie Dalton. She is a licensed pharmacist, physician, has an MBA, got later in her career, but as a leader, she is the Chief Medical Officer at the Wellstar Paulding Hospital. She is a former chair of the Composite Medical Board and currently serves as the president of the Medical Association of Georgia. So her service commitment outside of the 50-hour week she works as a medical director is extensive. And with that, I'd like to thank our doctor of the day, Dr. Debbie Dalton.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you, Lieutenant Governor. As mentioned, I am the president of the Medical Association of Georgia. I'm a past chair and a current member of the Composite Medical Board, and I'm honored to be here and serve as your doctor for the day. I just want to thank you for everything you have done in the past, everything you're going to do today, and for the rest of the legislative session this year, and in the future, to help make Georgia the best state to practice medicine and to help keep our patients safe. Thank you so much.
We have a special presentation here today. Secretary, read the resolution.
Senate Resolution 36 by Senator Halpern of the 39th and others, a resolution recognizing January 27, 2025 as International Holocaust Remembrance Day in the state of Georgia and reaffirming the commitment to combat anti-Semitism and for other purposes. Whereas January 27, 2025 marks the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau, the largest and most notorious Nazi concentration and extermination camp. Whereas International Holocaust Remembrance Day is a solemn occasion to honor the 6 million Jews and millions of other innocent victims who perished during the Holocaust, while also serving as a reminder of the enduring need to confront hatred, bigotry, and anti-Semitism. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body recognize January 27th, 2025 as International Holocaust Remembrance Day in Georgia, honor the memory of the victims of the Holocaust, condemn all forms of anti-Semitism and hate, and reaffirm the commitment to fostering a state that stands firmly against prejudice and discrimination. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none. The resolution is adopted. This group was instrumental in being kind of the backbone and ground game for us getting our anti-Semitism bill passed last year, and we greatly appreciate them for that and all their hard work. And I recognize the senator from the 39th to speak to the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. So as you heard, today we are gathered to recognize January 27th as International Holocaust Remembrance Day. And I'm glad to be joined by Consul General of Israel, Anat Sultan Dadon, and member of her team, Karen Eisenberg-Jones, as well as Sally Levine is in the building somewhere. She is the executive director of the Georgia Commission on the Holocaust, but we do have other commission board members with us in the gallery this morning, along with commission members who are in our Senate. I don't know their numbers. As you see, and myself and my co-chair of the Georgia-Israel Legislative Caucus. And so this year, as you heard, marks the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau, the largest Nazi concentration and extermination camp where over 1 million innocent people were murdered. So as we honor the 6 million Jews and countless others who perished during the Holocaust, we reaffirm our commitment to remember and educate future generations about these atrocities. In our own state of Georgia, in 1998, the legislature passed HB 1664, which established the Georgia Commission on the Holocaust as a permanent state agency charged with creating educational programs for Georgia citizens and operating as a secular, nonpartisan entity tasked with preserving the memory of the Holocaust, promoting public understanding of its history, and reminding citizens to remain vigilant against hatred, racism, anti-Semitism, persecution, and genocide. The legislature itself has taken its own important steps to combat anti-Semitism, and recently, members of the General Assembly met with hostage families affected by the tragic events of October 7th, where individuals were taken hostage by Hamas. One such family member was Yarden Gonen, who advocated for the release of her sister, Romy, who was held captive for 470 days before she was released miraculously during that same week that Yarden came and visited us here in Georgia. Yes. Romy was one of 3 young Jewish women who were released, and thankfully another 4 were also released on Saturday. And of course, there are more to come. But these releases and return home were part of the ceasefire agreement. The liberation of these innocent individuals resonates deeply with the historical liberation that we're commemorating today. As we honor the memory of those who suffered and perished in the Holocaust, we echo the solemn vow, never again. And as we pray for peace in the region and the end to all of the bloodshed and suffering, we also pray for healing and a sustainable new way forward. I now have the great privilege of welcoming my friend, Anat Sultan Dadon, the General Counsel of Israel, to speak. Consul General, thank you for your leadership, fortitude, and dedication to moving the Georgia-Israel relationship forward.
In 2005, the United Nations General Assembly unanimously adopted a resolution introduced by the State of Israel designating January 27th as International Holocaust Remembrance Day. This date was chosen as it marks the liberation of the Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration and death camp. 80 years ago today, on that day of liberation, approximately 7,000 survivors were left to be liberated in Auschwitz. That is what had remained from over 1 million Jews who had been deported there. From 1941 to 1945, 6 million Jewish men, women, and children were systematically murdered throughout Nazi Germany and German-occupied territories as the world stood silently by. Because the world stood silently by. I would like to share with you the words of Holocaust survivor Yosef Vinel, who died 1 month ago at the age of 98. These are the words he wrote after October 7th. My name is Yosef Vinel and I am 97 years old. I escaped the flames of the Nazi beasts, but my entire family was consumed by that inferno. Ripped from my deep roots, I built a memorial from basalt stones, a tribute to those who were lost. On the verge of collapse, drowning in despair, I clung to this land and planted myself in Zion. I married Aviva, and together we raised two wonderful children, Ofer and Nurit. Ofer and Michal blessed us with 4 grandchildren in Kibbutz Kfar Aza. Nurit and Mickey gave us 6 more. I watched as my family's tree took root in the soil of our homeland and flourished. But then, without warning, on October 7th, 2023, evil struck again. The nightmare returned: fire, ash, the slaughter of innocent lives. My beloved grandson Yahav, the one closest to my heart, was murdered while protecting his wife Shaili and their newborn daughter Shaya. And my precious granddaughter Hadar, along with her husband Itai, were brutally killed while shielding their 10-month-old twins, Ro'i and Guy. Once again, I find myself depleted, drowning in sorrow. This time, there is no earth left for me to hold on to." End of quote. On October 7th, our collective memory was awakened with the horror of the reality in which, again, Jewish men, women, and children were slaughtered for the crime of being Jewish. But there is a stark difference between then and now: the existence of the State of Israel. While we face genocidal enemies bent on destroying Israel and the Jewish people, we no longer have to rely on the protection of others. We no longer have to depend on the world's mercy. We have a sovereign nation and an army to defend ourselves, which is what the Israel Defense Forces have been doing and will continue to do in order to ensure the safety of our country and people. Supporting Israel in this existential struggle against those who seek the destruction of Israel and the Jewish people is a shared imperative for the entire free world. This moment demands unity, resolve, and a clear message to those who seek to sow hatred and fear: that we will not waver in our commitment to freedom, justice, and peace. Israel will continue to do all that is necessary to ensure the safety of our country and people while maintaining our everlasting commitment to the path of peace whenever we face leaders courageous enough to choose peace over hatred. But the war that we are fighting is not confined to Israel's borders. Globally, including here in the United States, we are witnessing rampant anti-Semitism all around us. Israelis and Jews are being attacked on streets, on college campuses, outside of synagogues, and their homes. As we join today in remembrance, we must acknowledge why we are charged with remembering. We must acknowledge that the words "never again" carry with them the sacred responsibility of a commitment to action. Just as we look at the past today with a vision that clearly distinguishes between good and evil, a vision that clearly highlights who stood on the right side of history and who was on the wrong side, who allowed for evil to spread. Years from now, the world will look back at this point in time, the time that we are in. We are the ones who share responsibility not only to remember the past, but to examine what we are doing today in order to actively stand against evil. Years from now, humanity will ask about this moment in time: where were you? What did you do? Were you silent? Did you use your voice? Children will be asked what their parents did at this point in time. History has taught us the grave danger of silently standing by, of not taking a clear moral stand, of not actively working to combat ignorance and hatred. In the face of those who shamefully remain silent, we all must be loud. We all must stand clearly on the right side of history, loud and proud. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, to Senate President Pro Temp John Kennedy, to Georgia-Israel Caucus co-chairs Senator Russ Goodman and Senator Sonia Halpern, and to so many friends and supporters here in Georgia's State Senate, for your commitment to Holocaust remembrance and to combating anti-Semitism, and for your support of the State of Israel and the Jewish people at a time when it matters most. A beautiful testament to the state of Georgia's commitment to Holocaust remembrance and combating anti-Semitism is the fact that today, in Poland, Georgia's Governor Brian Kemp is attending the official commemoration of the 80th anniversary of the liberation of the Auschwitz-Birkenau death camp. I would like to finish with a reminder that today is day 479 since October 7th, and we still have 90 men, women, and children who remain in brutal captivity in Gaza. For them, October 7th is still not over. We cannot rest, none of us should rest, until every single hostage is free and reunited with their loved ones. Most importantly, as we remember the 6 million Jewish men, women, and children who were murdered in the Holocaust, we know also that out of the ashes of the Shoah, the Jewish people have prevailed, survived, and thrived. We will overcome today's enemies as well. Am Yisrael Chai, the people of Israel live. Thank you.
All right, if we could have everyone's attention. We have another very, very special guest with us today. And Secretary, read the resolution.
Senate Resolution 37 by Senator Eccles of the 49th and others, a resolution commending and congratulating Martha Haythorne and for other purposes. Whereas Martha Haythorne was born on January 27, 2000, and this year she enjoys the delightful distinction of celebrating her 25th birthday. And whereas Martha Haythorne developed her interest in politics through her weekly Zoom shows, Mondays with Martha, during which she interviewed state legislators about politics and disability policy as a part of her internship with the ARC of Georgia, and whereas she is a graduate of Georgia Tech's Excel Inclusive Post-Secondary Education Program, which provides opportunities for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities to pursue higher education and personal growth, and whereas Martha Haythorne currently serves as a member of the Georgia Council on Developmental Disabilities, where she focuses on the Public Policy Committee, and where she further serves as the Senate Assistant Anteroom Clerk. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body commend Martha Haythorne for her unselfish, dedicated, and loving service to the members of her family and state, congratulate her on the remarkable occasion of her 25th birthday, and extend their most sincere best wishes for continued health and happiness. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted.
Whoa! Oh, geez, that was kind of... Wow, that was very official. Oh, wow.
Now, Martha has started working with us this session, and she has been just an absolute joy to be around, either in the ante room or down in our Lieutenant Governor's office. And she was down in my office last week, and she was talking about that she liked it. Those of you who've been in my office, you know I've got the helmet display of all the college teams here in the state of Georgia on my bookshelf. You know, it shows you how much I read. And, but she took a real liking to the Georgia Tech helmet, and
Go Yellow Jackets!
And I said, you like Tech? She said, yes, I graduated from Georgia Tech. I said, I didn't know that, Martha. And I go, you know what? I think I know what I'm going to get you for your birthday right here. So y'all know what a big University of Georgia guy I am. So it took a lot of pride swallowing to do what I did. But I called the good president there at Georgia Tech and the head football coach at Georgia Tech, and we got Martha her very own helmet right there.
I'm ready to get in that field and take anyone down. Watch out, people.
Yeah, she's going to take anybody down as a Tech fan. So.
Oh, yeah.
But I do know that the senator who put this resolution together for us from Gainesville, Georgia, he is behind me, and I know he would like to speak to this resolution. And Martha, you can keep the helmet on or off; it doesn't matter to me. But sometimes I wish I had a helmet in this room. So go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Y'all bear with me just a second. This is the first time up here, so I'm going to make it brief, but come on now. Colleagues, I rise today to not only celebrate a beautiful young woman's birthday, but also to recognize you and your work on Senate Bill 384, the Georgia as a Model Employers Act. Thank you to the senator from the 4th for authoring this legislation and being a champion for adults with developmental disabilities. Thank you to all my colleagues for supporting this important piece of legislation. I don't think anything speaks louder than this body hiring her out the gate this year, this quickly. The Games Act was not only a dream and an idea, but we've made it a reality here in this chamber, so thank you guys. I also want to extend a special thank you to Secretary Tripp, Stacey Perry, Charlie Barrett for all making this happen. Martha, thank you for applying for this job in the state Senate. There's no question you were destined to be here, and this is just the beginning of a great career in public service. I want you to know how special you are to me and my colleagues in this room. In just a short time, you've made your mark, and you're making our days better. Your smile and your conversations are contagious, and they make me want to be better every day. After a brief conversation about fried pies with Martha, she didn't hold back in letting me know that January 27th was her birthday, and it was the perfect day to eat fried pies. I would say, Martha, you're an exemplary Georgian, and we can all learn so much from you. So far, you've put the service of others way above your personal needs, and I applaud you. From watching you and my son Cohen, I've learned that you work twice as hard as the rest of us to accomplish the tasks that we take for granted. On the contrary, you work half as hard at being nice and courteous and as generous as we do because it comes natural to you. We have a special vest for you for your birthday.
Whoa.
With the Senate logo on here.
Whoa.
We also have fried pies in the anteroom. The senator from the 24th orchestrated some balloons. I'm not sure how legal that is, but he got them in here. And a birthday card that everyone signed. So, colleagues, join me in wishing Martha Haythorne a very happy 25th birthday. She's very well aware of her quarter-century mark. So, y'all,
my gosh. Yes, I am.
give her a round of applause.
Can I say something? Hi, everybody. I just wanted to say thank you. First of all, this is an incredible honor. People with disabilities, with people with disabilities, it is really important for them to have a job. And so I applied, and then this happened. The bottom line is working in a place like this helps build inclusion in the workplace for people with all kinds of developmental disabilities. And the reason I'm here today in the Capitol is because I want to change society for everyone with disabilities in Georgia and nationally. I want to make a difference, and I want to create a better, healthier, stable society. So you can all join me in that movement, because that movement really helps people like me and me live my best life. And my life is worth living, and I am not going to apologize because my mother gave birth to an extra chromosome and gave me this. Don't limit me. There's no expectations for me because I have Down syndrome, I have UP syndrome, and I approve this message. Oh my God.
Are there any unanimous consents? I recognize the pro tem from the 18th.
Good morning, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent that Senate Rule 1-2.3C, as in Charlie, be suspended for the remainder of today, Monday, January 27th, 2025, to allow senators to exchange seats on the 6th day of the legislative session.
The pro tem has moved that the Senate stand suspended, rules suspended for a readjustment of the seating here in the chamber. So And just to give you an idea, because we were late getting governor floor leaders assigned and some other leadership positions assigned, usually the seating is different. Well, the seating is different than what's customary. So that is the reason for the suspension of the rule, is to get your appropriate seating done while we're in session here. So is there objection? Senator from the 53rd, do you have Senator from the 53rd? All right. With no objections to the motion? All right, so proceed. I'm sorry, I recognize the senator from the 18th to speak to the motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. As y'all know, we usually, under the rules, have one day, the first day of the legislative session, to swap seats. And because, as our president explained, the delay in what is our normal process of unfolding in the first few days, I want to thank Secretary Tripp, who has kindly suggested and allowed, if you will, assuming there's no objection to that being allowed now, his office is going to allow it. But please, two things need to happen. If you want to switch seats, make some arrangement with your best friend or maybe someone you want to be closer to or get away from, whatever your motivation is. But secondly, you have to get written communication to Secretary Tripp's office by 5 o'clock today. So this rule is only good for today, and he said he will accept an email or written letter, note, whatever it may be. So if you worked out a deal to switch seats, please give our secretary written notice of that received by him by 5 p.m. today. Any questions? I'm happy to answer any questions. This is just allow us to set our chamber seating the way we want. I don't see any questions, Mr. President. I'll give the will. Thank you.
All right, there were no objections to the senator's motion, so we are going to move on to points of personal privilege. I recognize the good lady from Rockdale County. I understand she has some special guests with us today. Recognize the senator from the 43rd.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, colleagues. If you have not noticed, there is a sea of pretty pink and gorgeous green today as we celebrate the first and finest forever sorority of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Today is AKA Day at the Georgia State Capitol. Founded on January 15, 1908 on the campus of Howard University in Washington, D.C., Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated is known as an international service organization. It is the oldest Greek letter organization established by African-American college-educated women. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority's mission is to cultivate and encourage high scholastic and ethical standards, to promote unity and friendship among college women, to study and help alleviate problems concerning girls and women in order to improve their social stature, to maintain a progressive interest in college life, and to be service to all mankind. Excuse me, colleagues, I am speaking about a very important matter. Serious matter. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated is comprised of more than 360,000 initiated members in graduate and undergraduate chapters located in 12 nations and territories, including the United States, Bahamas, Bermuda, Canada, Germany, Japan, Liberia, Nigeria, South Africa, South Korea, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. We are recognized and have proven by culture and merit, by service and sisterhood, that we are the first and finest forever sorority. We are America's premier Greek letter organization for African American women, and today and every day we will soar to greater heights of service and sisterhood. With me today is our very capable regional director, Madam Tiffany Moore Russell, who hails from the other great state of Florida, and she represents and supports the state of Georgia, Florida, and South Carolina. We have one of our former regional directors, Madam Carolyn Randolph, from the state of Columbus. So the senator from the 15th is an inside joke. From Columbus, she's from Columbus, Georgia. Please welcome our Madam Regional Director and the lovely ladies of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Please welcome them to our state capitol. Thank you so very kindly, Mr. President. I yield the will.
It's always a pleasure to have the ladies from the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority here. They always come out in strong numbers, and I know y'all didn't disappoint again today. So y'all come on up here. Let's get a picture. I'd love to have a picture with y'all. I recognize the senator from the 22nd for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. Provide a brief history for us. In 1619, the first slaves were brought to the United States of America, and the United States began state-sponsored government discrimination. From 1619 to 1865, this state-sponsored government dehumanization took the form of chattel slavery. Generation after generations were born into slavery. Families were non-existent, and forget civil rights, there were no human rights. And this occurred generation after generation, all sponsored and made legal by the state, by the government. From 1865 to 1964, this government-sponsored dehumanization of African Americans took the form of Jim Crow and second-class citizenship throughout the United States, all sanctioned and legalized by government action. For 364 years, state-sponsored and government dehumanization policies and second-class citizenship was conducted. Finally, in 1964, with the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 64 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, the government finally decided to attempt to address its actions and try to alleviate the effects of past discrimination sponsored by the government. Which helped, but 300 after that dehumanized and treated African Americans as second-class citizens. An opportunity to at least get federal contracts. The government that purposely discriminated was now purposely trying to aid African Americans. What is interesting, though, is that although the government laws that regulated African Americans to second-class citizenship went unfettered and barely challenged for 346 years, as soon as the government attempted to redress and address these legal impediments, it was met with legal and legislative challenges. And although these laws have been gutted and watered down, Executive Order 11246 remained until last Monday, where it was rescinded. It was unnecessary rescission, mean-spirited, and perhaps the death knell for the federal government's efforts to impact state-sponsored discrimination. But that is the federal government. We still here in the state have an opportunity to do what is right by African American community and also all other communities. It is now time for Georgia to pass its first Civil Rights Act. It is now time for this state to fill the void that has now been left open by the federal government's refusal to actually enforce the law. For 346 years, the government, the state, has sponsored terror and discrimination against African Americans. We now have the opportunity to fill that void and pass Georgia's first civil rights law, which the Democrat Senate will be presenting soon. We hope that we can get everyone on board to do that and recognize the history of this country as far as racial discrimination is concerned. Thank you, and I yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. I recognize the senator from 56 for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. We passed Senate Resolution 27 the other day, and the purpose of this resolution was to recognize and commend Intuitive for the contributions of patient care and its business achievements and growth throughout Gwinnett County and all of Georgia. I rise today to share some information about what this company is doing that's rather extraordinary when it comes to patient care, technology, and economic development. Intuitive is a pioneer in robotic-assisted surgery. You or someone you know may have had what they call the Da Vinci surgery, and it may sound familiar. This is Da Vinci Institute's flagship robotic surgery. Intuitive is developing and manufacturing robotic-assisted surgical and diagnostic technology that's transforming the way we can deliver care to patients, surgeons, and hospitals. Intuitive shared with me that more than 59,000 Da Vinci surgeries were done here in Georgia just last year alone. And some of the systems were actually produced here in Georgia as well. Intuitive has a large Georgian presence since 2011, and they're currently in the middle of a $500 million expansion, which Governor Kemp announced just a couple of years ago as they ramp up their headcount here in Georgia. I'd like to encourage each one of you to read the information that's on your desk, as well as tomorrow. You'll be able to visit their mobile mock operating room and lab. That will be in a big tractor and trailer right here across from the Judicial Building. There's a blue flyer that gives you more information on your desk. I hope you'll have a chance to come enjoy this opportunity where you can use the robot as a surgeon would. Other key points that you might be curious about is last year, as part of their campus expansion, Intuitive had almost 600,000 square feet of LEED Platinum certified manufacturing facility where they're producing the next generations of Da Vinci surgical equipment for shipment all around the world. And next year, they expect to open a new state-of-the-art training facility where they'll continue to train surgeons and care teams. They already train more surgeons and care teams in Georgia than anywhere else in the world. This building will allow them to increase their capacity and serve more patients. Today, they have more than 600 employees in Georgia, which include training, manufacturing, engineering, and other business functions, and they are expected to grow that headcount to 1,200 in just the next few years ahead. So please join me in congratulating Intuitive for their great commitment to our state, to our community, and most importantly, to the patients that will receive their life-saving care. Thank you. I yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. I recognize the senator from the 14th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. I'm the senator from the 14th, and this is Trump Morning News. Welcome to Trump Morning News, a new 2025 podcast featuring your favorite in news entertainment, Trump Morning News. We'd like to introduce our podcast today and give you a couple guidelines and thoughts about what to expect over the course of this season's podcast. It's impossible, frankly, to capture all of the Trump news that comes across your desk. It's a little bit tiring, am I right? But we're going to do our best as Senate Democrats to highlight a couple of the biggest Trump stories from the last week to give you a sense of the health of your democracy. Today in Trump Morning News, you have on your desk a call log from a Sergeant Gonell, former Capitol Police. He is a crime victim. We have talked a lot about crime victims in this chamber. This is a list of calls from the United States Department of Justice. Typically, this is not the type of list of calls you would like to receive on any given morning, but Sergeant Gonell received these 10 or so calls the morning of January 21st. Why? Each individual call is a call from the Department of Justice notifying Sergeant Gonell that one of the offenders that he testified against on January 6th, relating to January 6th, had been released from custody. Why? Because sitting President Trump has pardoned roughly 1,500 people who are involved in the January 6th march on the Capitol. Some are calling it an insurrection. Normally, when you are a crime victim of, let's say, rape, sexual assault, or a very serious crime, it is life-changing to get one of these phone calls because it means you've risked your life to go to court and testify against somebody violent who might want to hurt you if they're released. Apparently, he picked up one of these phone calls, I guess, just to figure out what was going on. It's in color. We don't know what's going to happen yet with all of the Proud Boys and other folks who were released by President Trump, against his vice president's wishes, by the way. VP J.D. Vance went on record saying that he didn't think the violent offenders from January 6th should be pardoned. But they were. And now they're already on message boards and comments threatening the same people that they antagonized, drove to suicide on January 6th. Same type of people. The officers. So again, crime victims and officers. Two people that we say we care a lot about in this chamber on a regular basis. So again, we're the state government. We can't do much. Listen, this is just a friendly podcast meant to remind you of the morning news. There's obviously nothing you could do in your capacity as state legislators about President Trump's pardons. Nothing the Republican Party could have done in the last 20 years to stop any of this from happening. But good morning and welcome to this season's podcast of Trump Morning News. Da, 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 da. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Senator. I hear CNN's hiring. I hear they're hiring. They pay a little better than this room does, too. Allegedly, I don't know. All right. Recognize the senator from the 54th for a point of personal privilege.
As I hear it being announced before I got up here, everybody knows what today is. As you usually do every year, today I rise on a point of recognition of two amazing things happening today, two amazing successes. Today is Dalton Day at the Capitol, and of course everybody knows what that means. It's a great day at the Capitol when it's Dalton Day at the Capitol. Just to tell you a little bit about Dalton. Dalton is a home to entrepreneurs, mature industries, and Fortune 500 companies as we continue to adapt and to grow, always premier location in Northwest Georgia to begin a business and to raise families. Dalton and Whitfield County in Northwest Georgia is prime location for business expansion, relocation, and economic development. Located in the heart of the southern automotive and advanced manufacturing corridors on I-75 and just 25 miles south of Chattanooga and 85 miles north of Atlanta, the area is within a day's drive of a half of the nation's population. Dalton is home to the carpet and floor covering industry, which is a 21st century innovator in cutting-edge technology, applied science, global marketing, and services, resulting in new high-tech products and patent. Today is Dalton Day. I ask you to please plan to come visit with us from 4 to 6 at the Freight Depot. Each of you will also today receive your 2025 Dalton Day rug, as Georgia is home sweet home to us all. And Mr. President, as usual, you will get the first Dalton Day rug. On another occasion I'd like to speak to is the second recognition is to recognize we have special visitors here with us today in the gallery. Dalton State College is home. I get to proudly announce this. Dalton State College is home to the 2024 NAIA National Championship golf team. And if we have them sitting in the gallery, if you would please stand and let us recognize you and your accomplishment. As also, Mr. President, just to say, we'll get you down here for a picture hopefully shortly, but Mr. President, just say Dalton State is part of what makes Dalton the greatest place to live in Georgia. I know I have my preferences, but they just do amazing work at Dalton State College, and we literally are one of the highest ranked institutions in all of Georgia, not only Georgia, but the Southeast. and we're just proud of all they accomplished and all the successes that are coming out of Dalton State College. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the whip.
All right. Let's give our friends from Dalton State College another round of applause real quick. Thank you, Senator, and I appreciate the rug, and we appreciate Dalton providing those for us here in the legislature each and every year. So thank you very much, Senator. I recognize Senator.
Oh, got to bring this. Thank you, Mr. President. Got to bring it down for a shorty like me. Y'all may remember almost a year ago to today, we lost 3 Georgians in the terrorist attack in Jordan. And one of them was my constituent, Kennedy Sanders. And I actually have my friend, Councilwoman Katrina Felder here. Katrina, wave at everybody. That is Kennedy was Katrina's constituent, and I got to know. I want to thank y'all, the members of this body. I think we had every member of the Senate sign the resolution honoring her life and sacrifice. We also lost in that terrorist attack Breonna Moffett from Savannah and William Jerome Rivers from Carrollton. And it's one thing as we go about talking about the issues of the day. You know, they always talk about how do you pay back a veteran? When you pay back a veteran by being the kind of American worth fighting for and the kind of American worth dying for. And this is Kennedy Sanders, and she gave her life for this country. And I want to tell y'all something. Not you're a Democrat or a Republican or an independent or whatever you want to be. She gave her life, and we need to remember that, all of us, as we go about arguing the issues of the day. I've always said that those guys that were in Bastogne, do you think that they looked at each other and asked each other if they were a Republican or a Democrat before they shared a foxhole with each other? No, they didn't. They were Americans. Recently, when I presented the resolution to Sean and Oneida Sanders, I read Master Sergeant's poem, and I wanted to share it with you. He wrote it. It's the final hail and farewell. Attention to orders. I thought I heard someone say, to welcome this veteran who has joined us today. Row upon row of stones stand tall, marking earlier members who had answered the call. On farms and cities, they grew up fit. They had a job to do, and they did it. The silence was broken as the procession went by. Will lie. The leading welcome to the you, and I pray you were blessed. Now join fellow warriors who gave us their best, and oh, the stories that they will tell. They're your final hail and farewell. Mr. President, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask for just a moment of silence in honor of these 3 Georgians that paid the ultimate sacrifice for this country.
The senator has requested a moment of silence. If the chamber could quiet down, please.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Are there any more points of personal privilege? For resolutions, does any senator wish to sound objection to the resolution? Chair hears none, and the resolutions on the consent calendar are adopted. Are there any motions to withdraw or commit? I recognize the majority leader for a motion. Senator from the 51st.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate stand adjourned until 10 a.m. on Tuesday, January 28th.
Secretary, read the announcements.
Mr. President, at 2 p.m., the Natural Resources and the Environment Committee will meet in Mez 1. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Do we